This is Team 11, and we will be demonstrating the prison data model and database. Starting off, we have the data dictionary for ERD. The first entity type that we have on our list is the medical staff. This is personnel who treats inmates for injury / illness. The attributes that we have assigned for medical staff include phone number, employee ID, social security number, salary, last name, middle initial, first name, schedule, and date of birth. The keys include phone number, employee ID, and social security number. The relationship described by this entity is 0 to many and shows us that any medical staff can be working on no inmates up to multiple inmates. Next up, we have transport vehicles. These are transports that deliver inmates to and from the prison. Their attributes include departure time, arrival time, destination, capacity, transport number, and driver ID. The key here would be transport number. The relationship here is that a transport will carry inmates. Next up, we have legal personnel, so basically which is attorneys that represent inmates. Their attributes include employee ID, salary, phone number, date of birth, first name, middle initial, last name, and social security number. The keys are employee ID and phone number, and their relationship to the inmate is that they represent them. And now we have the inmate themselves, which is basically personnel who is occupying the cells, the ones who have committed the crime. And their attributes will include the crime committed, inmate ID, last name, middle name, first name, cell number, date of birth, threat level, which is basically represents the magnitude of the crime, date incarcerated, and sentence length. The key will be inmate ID only. Relationships involving inmates include the relationship that they will be treated by medical staff, carried by transport, as previously mentioned, represented by legal personnel, visited by visitors, and will occupy / live within a cell. Next entity are the visitors, and the visitor is anyone who comes to the prison specifically with the intention to visit an inmate. Their attributes include visitor number, last name, middle initial, first name, in the name of the inmate that is being visited, an arrival time, and a departure time. Their key will be visitor number. Next up, we have cells, and these are just rooms where they're going to be occupied by inmates. They have attributes of cell number, cell block, and capacity. So here, the key will be the cell number, and cells can occupy 0 up till 2 inmates. And each cell is contained within a cell block. Which brings us to the next entity, cell blocks. These represent large clusters of cells represented under a single block letter. This letter would be the only attribute for the cells, and each cell block would contain 0 to 100 cells. Additionally, any given cell block has one corrections officer assigned to it. And for the corrections officer, their attributes include a phone number, first name, middle initial, last name, rank, cell block, salary, employee ID, social security number, date of birth, and a schedule for their patrol. The keys here are phone number and employee ID. And as previously mentioned, corrections officers are applied to cell blocks. These corrections officer will also report to the warden. The warden is an entity that describes basically the boss / overseer of the entire prison. There's only going to be one of these for any given moment in the prison's lifespan. And the attributes are going to include salary, date of birth, phone number, employee ID, social security number, first name, middle initial, and last name. The keys are employee ID and phone number. As for its relationships, the warden is going to receive the reports from 0 to many corrections officers, and the warden is going to manage 0 to many staff. Here, the staff means personnel who are working on prison facilities, so workers within the prison that aren't necessarily corrections officers or anything like that. Their attributes are salary, date of birth, phone number, employee ID, email, last name, social security number, first name, and middle initial. The keys will include employee ID and phone number. And they're going to be managed by the one warden in the entire prison and will provide service to 0 to many facilities. And finally, we have the facilities. These are basically a place slash amenity that are available to the inmates for use. The attributes are going to be capacity, type, facility ID, and of course, key being facility ID here. And they're going to be serviced by 0 to many staff. And very briefly, we'll be showing off our schema diagram here. As you can see, that attributes such as names and phone numbers are represented by variable character fields, while other identifiers such as transport number would be identified using integers. And so as a quick rundown of some of our plan sizes and business rules, ideally there would be 500 cells, 100 cells per cell block, making it about 5 cell blocks in total. There would need to be at least 200 corrections officers, between 5 and 10 active facilities, and no more than 1,000 inmates. There would be about 20 legal personnel for the entire population of the inmates, as well as about 50 total medical staff. Facility staff would amount to about 150 personnel, and there would be 500 transports per year. There could be up to about 4,000 visitors per month, and of course there would only be one warden. And finally, we'll be showing off some queries using our database. First, here's a query showing the results from the corrections officers. At the bottom of the screen, you can see that all the officers are displayed along with all their attributes. Now, we'll repeat the process, except this time for the inmates. Since we're working with a different entity type now, you can see that the attribute set below has changed. Again, repeating this for the medical staff, you can see the results below. To conclude this presentation, we'll be leaving off with our 5 example queries. So that is it for our prison database. Thank you for listening, and stay healthy, wash your hands. Thank you very much.